Good morning, Grinders. Welcome to the DFS pregame show here on RotoGrinders. I'm Jordan Cooper, a.k.a. Blender Ed, and this is the show where it's Monday. We're going to be going over some NFL from yesterday, and we do that with James McCool. Mondays with McCool from Pay Dirt DFS, also the co-author with me on the Theory of Daily Fantasy Sports. It's a 15-hour audio DFS masterclass at theoryofdfs.com. If you got any questions, you could always post it in the YouTube chat. Even I scroll back, so don't worry about it. So feel free to post whatever you want in the YouTube chat. Give me those thummy thumbs. I'll wave my thumbs at you until I get some thummy thumbs in the morning. It helps us out on this channel. Hit the subscribe button if you're new here, the notification bell to know when we go live. So James, I my best day in NFL this season. Yesterday. Not for GPP. I played 17 lineups. I did not do a mass entry build. I just did power sweeps and spies and the five max $33 one. I did 17 of those, 17 lineups, cash 9 out of 17. Okay. I mean, no sweats or nothing. I mean, I had a lot of late game exposure. So it was the type of thing where I don't got Jamar Chase. I don't got Damian Harris. I don't got Terry McLaurin. I don't know if I could win at all, but I mean, if the stacks in the late games go off, maybe, possibly. Yeah. But in cash games, on Draftkings, I won 93% of my head-to-heads, and on FanDuel, almost 90, just under 99%. Like I lost my only 3 losing contests out of, I think, 600 and something or other were 3 head-to-heads. Like I was in all the quintuple ups, all the everything. So from a cash perspective, great day, and broke even kind of in GPP, because I mean, and this is with snowflakes in the running back spots, right? So it was a good day for me. I thought the build in cash games was there were multiple ways to go, but quite straightforward. Mm-hmm. Basically, as long as you got the decision of which pay up wide receiver right, which was Cooper Kupp, you probably did okay. And on FanDuel, I did not play Mahomes in cash. He was 47% owned in cash games. I played Lamar Jackson in my build. Was that in hindsight? Obviously, it ends up being the correct decision. I don't know if it was at the time. I had a choice between playing Lamar Jackson and the Giants defense, put up 17 points on FanDuel, or Mahomes and the Jets defense. Mm-hmm. And the Jets put up -3 and Mahomes put up 8. So that was essentially the 2v2 that I was considering at the end on FanDuel. But James, how was your Sunday?
It was pretty good. I did have a sweat. I was 38th in the power sweep with a full buck stack going with Foster Moreau and Darrell Henderson. Moving on. Darrell Henderson, the dagger was that second Cooper Kupp touchdown. So if Darrell Henderson gets that instead, jump up probably inside the top 20 and with an outside chance, if the Bucks end up scoring one more time, have an outside chance at it. But Cooper Kupp, man, he's gritty. He's gritty and killed me. So it was okay. I had a lot of exposure to the Bucks. I really liked them. I also really liked the Eagles and Raiders game, but that one obviously didn't go off the way that I wanted to. But I had a Philadelphia stack with Jalen Hurts, Quez Watkins, and Dallas Goedert, bringing it back with Henry Ruggs. I had a Tampa Bay stack, Tom Brady, Mike Evans, and Chris Godwin with no bring back. And then I had a Rams stack, I think. Did I have a Rams stack? I'm pretty sure I had a Rams stack. I'll find out. Because I know, yeah. I had a Rams stack, and I did have Cooper Kupp in that one. I had Cooper Kupp and Tyler Higbee, because I wanted to try to leverage the Darrell Henderson chalk. So, I mean, it was okay. I only had one of those 3 cash, but it was top 100 cash. So I made money on the week. That's fine. I don't know. It was annoying. I'm tired of getting killed by Cooper Kupp, to be honest with you.
Well, you have to play him. I said this on Twitter yesterday. I don't think people understand, or maybe they're finally coming around to the fact that 2021 Cooper Kupp is 2019 Michael Thomas and an extra added bonus, this guy actually gets touchdowns. I mean, his target share is on this Rams offense with how often they pass the ball. And they're not as pass heavy as people think.
No.
It really depends on the game state. But they pass a lot, and it's not Goff. It's Stafford, who's a much better quarterback. And, Cooper Kupp, it's not just, he magically gets open. No, he's similar to Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas was never like a breakout speed guy. He was never, extremely athletic guy. He's just someone that's just good at football. And those 12-yard routes Cooper Kupp runs like every route. He runs hitch route. He runs running back routes. He runs all this stuff that, like, when I saw 8,400 versus Davante Adams at 8,900, Davante Adams has a higher target share for his team, but the Green Bay as an offense plays differently than the Rams play as an offense. So, like, Davante Adams is much more valuable in competitive games. While if the Packers are ahead, they're more likely to play slow and run the ball. Rams have no problem playing fast and throwing the ball, even when they're up by 2 touchdowns. I mean, I would not be shocked at within 2 or 3 weeks that Cooper Kupp is $10,000, and he would still rate out as someone that's rosterable.
Yeah, the thing with Cooper Kupp, and I was talking about it in the Discord yesterday, they run routes for him in the red zone. And like they put together plays that it's impossible to cover the dude. They run rub routes so that he can't be covered. Like that second touchdown that he scored, they have ran that play before, but they've ran it with an extra wide receiver over on the side who runs that quick cut, right? He runs that really quick slant, and then he blocks off the cornerback while Cooper Kupp runs in that motion on that little wheel route. Right. They love that play.
It always works. I think that play has an 100% effectiveness rate.
Because they can't cover Cooper Kupp. If they don't cover the guy who is running that quick slant, he's wide open in the middle of the field. Linebackers can't get to him. But if they cover him, Cooper Kupp is literally like the safety has to get over the top and catch Cooper Kupp before he scores in 6 yards. And it's like, you can't do anything about it. And they love running those routes for him. They had run those routes for Robert Woods in the past, but now it's Cooper Kupp running those. And he's just automatic on those. As soon as they get within like 10 yards, if they're not running the ball in the red zone, they're running these rub routes for Cooper Kupp. And it's just so hard to cover him. Regarding the Davante Adams and Cooper Kupp situation, I
had Cooper Kupp projected higher in raw points than Davante Adams, and Davante Adams was 500 more.
So I did not, and it was only because it was only because the Rams were such massive favorites that they profiled as a team that's going to run more in the second half. So like their pass expectation, if I would have just ran neutral splits on it, if I wouldn't have cared about the Vegas stuff, Cooper Kupp very likely projects over Davante Adams. But because I run it in a way where it takes the Vegas info into account and it projects plays based on that spread, like I had Green Bay projected for 1.92 passing touchdowns and the Rams projected for 2.13, but Davante Adams has a higher percentage of the touchdown rate for Green Bay individually, because we were talking about the team market shares, right? Davante Adams has a higher team market share of those touchdowns than Cooper Kupp does. So I had Green Bay for like 7 more passing plays. I had the Rams for more rushing than passing in that second half. So I just, if I wouldn't have adjusted that, then Cooper Kupp probably projects better. But one way or another, Cooper Kupp versus Davante Adams, they're getting like the same market share. They're getting the same target share. They are massive, massive, massive monsters on those offenses. And that 1v1, I do think they have the same ceiling. I think that they probably are going to have very similar medians moving forward, but that 1v1 is going to kill me at times during this year.
So I brought up my cash lineup for anyone to see, because there was a strategic decision that I made. This was not the type of thing where, like, people ask me in NFL, I mean, even in NBA, like, do you just, you click in 5 seconds and that's it? Like, no, that's not it. It doesn't take long, but it's not that it. So the lineup that I played was actually not like optimal based on my aggregate. And it wasn't optimal in any projection set. I mean, it was close. It was within 1 point. The key decision of this slate, weirdly enough to me, was Darren Waller's availability in the late game. I was paying down at tight end regardless. My original lineup, I could have played a lineup with Gesicki at tight end and Bateman at wide receiver.
That would have made sense. Yeah.
Right. So, and that's a lot. And it was a popular lineup that people played. I looked through the contest and I saw that. What that would do is lock up a tight end spot. I was probably playing Chuba Hubbard in my running back spot. And I probably would have played something like Kupp, Bateman, and some 5K level and Godwin, and then used another running back in my flex. I didn't think I liked the fact that Davante Parker was inactive, so that upgraded Waddle, that upgraded Gesicki. The thing is that like I thought it was a priority, number one, to get Godwin and Henderson in. Like they had to be, they were going to be massive chalk. They were the best projected plays. Easy.
Block it. Yeah.
My want was Cooper Kupp, so paying up there. My problem with Bateman was that unknown. Yes, great. He went 6 for whatever his last game, but that I projected that game to be slow. Obviously, the Bengals routed them. I didn't want to rely on a $3,400 receiver that could easily give me 0. I would have not have been shocked if he had two targets, no catches, or 4 targets, 3 catches, 42 yards. Do I need that? Do we have enough options? Yes. So why do I need that? I liked Hunter Renfrow. He projected well even before Waller was ruled out. Right. So he was fine at 4,800 because he's a low A.dot receiver. He'll get 8 targets, maybe even 10 in a faster game. I mean, give them to me. I'll just take that at 4,800. And Calvin Ridley to me at 6,600. We have some questions now on whether or not his A.dot is as high as it was last season. So his projection may start coming down a little bit. But if you told me last year that you get Calvin Ridley against the Miami for 6,600, like, sign me up. So it's like I could do this middle build and not have to worry about playing any other. I don't have to worry about Darrell Williams. Do I play him? Do I play? Obviously, DeAndre Swift was viable. I would have liked to play Fournette and Godwin, but I wasn't able to do that. So the only way to make this build is by playing a cheap tight end, and I had Cole Kmet as my cheap tight end, and by playing a cheaper quarterback.
Yeah.
And my aggregate had Tua and Derek Carr projected very well for their price. I thought Stafford was the safest. I thought Lamar Jackson was like the safest because of his rushing floor.
Yeah.
Hurts, safe because of his rushing floor, but he's kind of like a Blake Bortles. So you're going to get nervous because he makes a lot of mistakes. I mean, he has a much lower floor than people think, and he gets there in garbage time. Yeah. So if Stafford is safe, but there's no difference in Stafford's situation of what type of quarterback he is than Tua or Carr. People don't realize that Carr has like one of the top air yards of the entire league at quarterback. And I think people don't realize that with Tua in and Waddle and Gesicki playing as not even as a tight end, they throw more they throw more as running plays. Like they throw, like it's a lot of 7-yard passes, 3-yard passes, and yards after the catch. That I think Tua, it could be very efficient against the Atlanta defense. And I'm just explaining the projections. I mean, that's why Carr and Tua projected so well. So if I play Tua, which is not going to be popular in cash games, I knew that. I knew Tua and Carr wouldn't be. But I knew Bateman would. I knew Chuba would, which I would have. Ridley, I would have in. He was 30% owned in the 250. I would have information. So the information that I would have is, number one, is Waller in or out? Because if Waller is in or out, I just go down from Kmet and plug in Foster Moreau. Okay? And I could leave 500 on the table, which is what I did. Now, if I was behind, let's say Bateman put up 26 points. right? Let's say Calvin Ridley did he kind of did it at 12, but I mean, let's say he had 4. I can now switch to Moreau and then switch Godwin to Fournette. Because I have the $500 to go from Godwin to 6,400 Fournette. So that was my thought process of like, and then also I could always switch off the Cardinals defense to the Eagles defense because the Cardinals defense would be insanely owned. I could switch off Darrell Henderson, right? Instead of playing Darrell Henderson, I play Fournette there, right? And I play Evans instead of Godwin. Like it gives me just so much more information. And the projection difference between these lineups is a point. So it's like when in doubt, like, do I rely on Bateman's possibly non-existent floor? And I didn't want to play a Moreau lineup that used up all of its salary because if Waller was in, I'd end up getting I'd need to find the 500 to get the Cole Kmet, and I didn't want to be put in that situation. Or just like I'll start with Kmet, and if I leave 500 on the table, right? Because I could have played Carr. Like this lineup, actually, from a projection standpoint, was slightly higher projected with Carr because Carr was 6,000. Right. So like that's where the 500 would have went. But it's like I don't know that until before 4:00. So playing a lineup that is not optimal, right? But anything within 1 point of the top optimal is like statistically like, dude, play right. At that point, play whatever you want. But I had a strategic reason to do so. Because obviously once Moreau comes into play, this lineup actually projects high. Like once Waller is deemed out,
right.
This lineup with Carr becomes the optimal. Like that's the point that I'm making is that like if the things happen because Renfro's projection goes up, Moreau's projection definitely goes up and beats Cole. He beats Cole Kmet's projection by 1.5 points. He beats Hunter Renfrow, moves up 2 points in projection. Carr's projection actually goes down by 0.5 point because Waller's efficiency, but he still projects for a little bit more than Tua. So like. Had I knew the information at 4:00 that Waller was going to be out, the optimal lineup in my aggregate would have been this lineup with Carr at quarterback. Mm-hmm. So, like, to me, I'm technically playing the what it is. I mean, like, so, like, in my aggregate, this would have been the top projected play. But for a strategic reason, the only reason that happened, and, God bless Cardi, because Cardi in the Blitz chat, early on, because no other site did this. If you subscribe to the Blitz, Cardi's in Sunday morning, and we were talking about Waller. Like, do we project Waller in? Do we project Waller out? If we project Waller in, do we project him at 100%? Maybe he doesn't play all the snaps. So what do we do there? So Cardi was like, I think he's leaning more on the side of not play. But it's I don't know, because so many people are not in chat that you can't just take Waller out and then have people messing around with projections and it ends up being him in. So I thought the best route was to leave him in until he's actually ruled out, but post in the Blitz chat what the projections would look like, the if-then projections in the chat. So if you wanted to make lineups with Waller out, you could just manually change all the Raiders projections yourself and then run the lineups or whatever.
Yeah.
So, like, I knew what Moreau would be projected at. I knew what Renfrow would be projected at. I knew what Carr would be projected at. And plugging them in, I could see that this Moreau lineup is much better. A lot of people didn't take advantage of that. I mean, Moreau was 2% owned in the middle.
He's 5% owned in the power sweep. He's nothing.
Right. But look at the cash games. Giants $100 double up versus the $5 double up. Moreau was 22% in the $100 double up, 8% in the $5 double up. Right, because a lot of people, a lot of sharp people switching.
That's that edge, yeah.
Right, switching to essentially, you switch to Darren Waller for $4,000 cheap. Like the Raiders do not change their offense; they use their tight ends a lot. Derek Carrier is on the IR. They don't got anyone else. Yeah. I mean, Moreau is going to be running Waller's routes and playing nearly 100% of the snaps. Yeah.
I think I had him for like 9 fantasy points or something, which is great for 2,500. That's awesome.
Right. No, I had the Blitz had him for a little over 9, right? Yeah. But in comparison to all the other, I mean, Gesicki was only projected for like 13, and he's 2,000 more expensive. So I mean, like Moreau was like value city right there in a tight end spot that if you were paying down, you were just going to play him.
Yeah,
but I late swapped
like a red thumb.
Right, and I late swapped Moreau in a bunch of my lineups. And some of my lineups I swapped out of good players because I needed. I mean, like in lineups that I had like a dud Darrell Williams, like it's like, and Henderson. It's like, well, I'm going to switch out Henderson for Woods and Godwin for Evans. So it's like I got one of them, but I didn't have Kupp in that lineup, right? So I did a lot of, and a lot of these lineups got there to the cash line regardless because I'm playing all the guys that end up, going off to some extent, just not all in the same lineup. My 17 lineups, I played 4 stacks only. And that was Stafford, Brady, Carr, and Tua. So essentially, Tua plus Waddle plus Gesicki, optional Ridley Rudd back. Carr plus Ruggs plus Renfro plus Moreau, and then switching out to Moreau if needed.
Swaps.
Right, some swaps. Take out Ruggs, put in Moreau, then move Ruggs up to Godwin, right? Like that type of thing. And then with the optional, I had Miles Sanders run back. It didn't score that many less points than some of these other running backs anyway, so it's not like that big of a deal. Or Devonta Smith or Goddard in a spot where I didn't have Moreau or something in there. And then obviously the Brady's. The Brady's I didn't have. I think I had one lineup with Mooney as a run back, but most of them were just Brady, Godwin, Evans.
Yeah.
Brady, Godwin, Howard, Brady, Fournette, Evans, like something like that. And then Stafford, I would play, Stafford, Kupp, Woods, Stafford, Woods, Higbee. That it didn't end up working out well.
But it was, I like that though. I like that with the
ownership. You're leveraging off the Cooper Kupp stuff, right?
And you're leveraging Darrell Henderson.
Right, exactly. But the thing is that if I knew Cooper Kupp was going to be as low owned as I thought, and he wasn't like low owned, but he's much lower owned than he should have been.
Yeah, I had him at 21%, comes in at 16 or something like that.
Right. I would have just left him in all my lineups had I known.
Yeah.
I was expecting him in the higher stake stuff to be 30 plus.
Yeah.
I knew Henderson would be super high.
Yeah.
But that kind of my thought process there. Since people want to know as far as the projections, now remember that every week there's always one guy.
Yeah.
Okay. So I don't know who that guy is going to be.
Oh, this is a fun one. You will literally.
Oh, okay. So you know already. You already know how you screwed up.
Yeah. No, I already knew. Like as soon as the projection set came in, I was like, oh, this is the guy.
Okay, who's the guy?
It's Quez Watkins.
Quez Watkins?
Yeah, Quez Watkins.
What?
Yeah. So I had.
Okay, hold on. Let me go to the Eagles receiver. Okay, hold on.
All right.
This is gonna be fun now.
Yeah.
This
one even I think is off the wall and like is wild, but I know why it was that way.
Just to get a baseline.
Yeah.
What did you have as the median for Jalen Hurts?
30.
30. Wow. Well, that's where you're off. I mean, mine was 19.45.
Right. So, like I said, I know why Quez Watkins projected the way that he did, and I know why Jalen Hurts projected the way that he did. So, like, I know what happened, and I don't think that it was necessarily off of my process that I usually have, but it was like a more exceptional outcome than I usually have. Right.
So you had Hurts as the highest raw points quarterback,
right behind Lamar Jackson. I had Lamar Jackson at 31.
What? Okay, hold on. Well, let's take a look at that. At 31.
Yeah.
Let me put this all. I had Lamar Jackson at 24.88.
Okay, sure.
My quarterbacks were Mahomes, Murray, Jackson, Stafford, Brady.
Hold on.
Carr, Rodgers, Tannehill, Tua. I had Tua higher projected than Jalen Hurts.
Yeah, so I had Tua.
But hold on. So basically if you have Jalen Hurts at 30,
yeah,
I mean that automatically makes the receipt. I mean that automatically means that all the other Philadelphia guys are going to be wild. I mean,
yeah, way high.
What did you have I had Devonta Smith at 14. You must have had him at like 20.
Yeah, like 19 or something like that.
Dallas Goedert, what did you have in that?
Dallas Goedert, I had 12.
So I have him at 12. How do you have Dallas Goedert at 12 with Jalen Hurts that high?
Because
it's all going to Quez Watkins. What was Jalen Reagor?
Oh, Jalen Reagor. I have Jalen Reagor as like wide receiver 3 on that team right now. So
I had him at 8.5.
Pretty low. 8.5.
Okay, but what's Quez Watkins then?
Quez Watkins 18.
Yeah.
Yeah, I told you.
But that's what you have to know. That's wrong.
So the reason why it was 18 is because his ADOT and like the kinds of targets he's getting are so much higher than what Jalen Reagor is getting, what Dallas Goedert is getting. So I don't build projections based off specifically the quarterback. I build it off, like, I think the wide receiver owns their ADOT. So I project off of their ADOT. Now, if Quez Watkins is coming up, there's no Zach Ertz. I projected a little bit more to the wide receiver core and a little bit away from the tight end. I didn't distribute all of Zach Ertz over to Dallas Goedert. So based off of the games where I've seen that they only have one tight end going, Quez Watkins is getting plenty of targets, and he's been on the trend up. Now, again, remember, we've talked about my models before of trying to identify things before they are actually a thing. So picking up off of the last two games from Quez Watkins, he was going to project super duper well. And I knew that he was going to project super well. And he was right there with Davante Smith. And I think that the main thing that it comes from is my models really, really liked that Philadelphia-Las Vegas game because it was a super, super pass-heavy environment. So when I reran with the Vegas info and with the weighted adjustments to the play calling, it supercharged all of Philadelphia, Las Vegas. So that game was really, really high on my radar because of that. And so the projections were going to be very, very high for that game in general. And I
was high on that game also, but you can't identifying things before they happen means you're wrong.
Sure. No, I was wrong there. Yeah.
But I mean, that's having an 18-point median projection on Quez Watkins. This isn't like Cortland Sutton situation where it's like, you have him 6 points higher, but at least he's Cortland Sutton.
It might have been
Quez Watkins.
It might have been. We've seen situations with Philadelphia where those kind of wide receivers find success. Like
Rager
Fulham last year was insane for like 5 games, and then they just like cut him from the practice squad. But that's what it is. It's trying to identify these guys before they actually become a thing. And it was just trying to identify.
18 is not the 50th percentile outcome on his range of outcomes.
Well, you say that, but you said that about
I'm saying that you're wrong
situation too. And you said it about the Marquise Brown situation before he put up 30 fantasy points.
No, Marquise Brown, I was fine with it. Just we're getting progressively wronger. When you're 3 or 4 points off, I could be like, okay, I could see a situation. But when you're 10 points off on the third wide receiver on a team, like. Hold on. Let me go to these wide receiver rankings. Hold on. This will sound nutso. If you have him in 18, okay. So is Cooper Kupp, I have number 1 at wide receiver.
Sure.
Adams number 2.
Yeah.
Hill number 3.
Cool.
DJ Moore number 4.
Okay.
Then I have Godwin.
Yep.
Then I have Ridley.
Yes.
Okay. So right after Ridley, you have Quez Watkins.
Well, no, because I didn't have, let's see, I have Ridley at 23.
23 as a median. I have him at 18.
I had him as the 3rd highest overall.
Okay. I had him in the 6th highest overall.
Yeah. So keep in mind when you're doing this, like, yeah, obviously Quez Watkins is still like this black sheep. And I acknowledged that before we started this conversation.
So who was Quez Watkins higher than? Was he higher than Mike Evans? Was he higher than Terry McLaurin? Was he higher than AJ Brown? Was he higher than
Chris Godwin?
Then you're just wrong. Come on. This has gone on too far. Then you're just wrong. They're not medians then. You could say that they have an increased likelihood of ceiling if you want to say that, but there's no way that his outcome ranges that's the 50th percentile outcome.
Projections are subjective, Mr. Sir. Projections.
Well, you're not projecting you're not projecting any type of normally distributed pattern at all.
Yes, I am based on the baselines that I have. Remember, I don't have the same baselines that Cardi has.
Yeah, but you don't have the same baselines as anyone in the world has.
That's true.
That's not a good thing. That's not a good thing.
That's fine.
You could be a little higher, a little lower. Okay, I get that. I get a little higher, a little lower. But to have Quez Watkins projected over Chris Godwin,
I told you it was a weird one this week. I told you it was a weird one this week.
Yeah, but you were wrong. Just say you were wrong. Something screwed up and you were wrong.
I said that it was a weird one, and that I acknowledged that it was weird.
So how many Quez Watkins lineups did you have?
I had one.
Oh, so you didn't play him in all your lineups?
It was my Philadelphia lineup.
I would have played him in cash games at that point if he had that.
Oh, I would play a zero.
What was he? Okay, hold on. Let's take a look. Let's see how
he's not even rostered in
Quez Watkins was in the Giant $5 double up. He's 0.7% owned. Is that your lineup?
That was me. That's my
your lineup in the Giant $5 double up?
No, I don't play double ups. No, I mean,
someone that uses your model probably has him. I got to find this lineup. Where the hell is this lineup? I don't know. There's no way on Results DB to go through the individual players. No, I got to see this. The $5 double up.
Dude, you got to find it.
Let's look in the Millie. And the Millie's probably owned somewhat, right? 2%. Okay. But I got to see that Giant $5 double up. Let's see. Hold on. Hopefully it's not someone that, it's probably someone that didn't catch. We're not going to be able to find it anyway. So let's see. Quez Watkins.
It was so funny in the Discord that people were like, Blender's head is literally going to explode on air.
Yes, because it's wrong. Okay, where's the $5? Oh God, there's so many contests.
Oh, dude.
Find Giant.
There it is.
$5 double up single entry. Merlin me over here. Okay. Okay, can we look ownership? No, I don't think we could. I would have to download the season. Oh, it's 1.2% though in this one.
Oh,
I know who has them. Yeah, I would have to download the CSV to search. Because I can look for users, but I can't look for a player in a specific lineup.
Sure.
I just want to see who the hell it is. Like, do you reckon it's like, is it your mom? Is it your like
it might be my mom. Right? It might be. My mom does sub to me.
Let's go through the YouTube chat, see what's going on in there. Let's see. Frederick, do projections put much emphasis on questionable players who do start, who presumably not playing at 100%, or have a significant chance of not playing a whole game or on a snap count? I'm assuming you do something. It depends on the player, depends on the situation.
Yeah.
But you can't just say as a whole in the industry, projections either count someone as 100% or 0%. It's all dependent on the inputs that you're putting in. That's why it was so big for Cardi beforehand to say, look, this is how I'm putting in the inputs. I'm putting in Darren Waller at 75% snap count, which increases Moreau a little, increases the guys a little. I'm going to leave it at that. But here are the projections if he's out. But some people may have been like, no, I'm putting Darren Waller for his full load and until shown otherwise. So you need to, if you're doing your own projections, this is what you'd be doing.
Yeah.
But really James, do you make if-then stuff beforehand?
Yeah. So, I mean, a situation like Darren Waller or Sterling Shepard is another really, really good example here, because Sterling Shepard was a game time decision who was going to be like testing his hamstring in pregame warmups. So you have to consider that if somebody has to test their hamstring in pregame, they're probably not 100%. They've gone through the entire week questionable, or maybe they get downgraded or something on Friday because of a tweak. You can't really say, oh, well, he's going to be 100% unless the coaching staff says he's 100% and ready to go. But at that point, like, he's probably not testing himself pregame. So you have to kind of handicap people. The Darren Waller situation, I thought that he wasn't going to play. And if he was going to play, I wouldn't have projected him for a 100% workload. He probably only would have been like 80 to 85% or something like that. But you have to be careful with that, because the drugs that they have for the NFL are good. And like, sometimes these guys will go from questionable to breaking out for 150 yards or something.
Well,
like
look at AJ Brown. He got some digestive issues at Chipotle, and that was no problem.
Yep. And then he ends up with 140 yards. But yeah, I mean, you want to make those changes, and it really does depend. A lot of the time, it depends on how big of a player is for a team for me. So Sterling Shepard, if he would have played and like been cleared after his pregame warmup, you still have to limit him because he's the only thing on that team. Like,
you're telling me you didn't have Dante Pettis for 21-point median?
I did not. Where did I have Dante Pettis?
You probably had him over. Probably had him high enough.
Yeah, high enough. No, I think Sterling Shepard is a situation like that where it's a really, really important player. You have to be a little bit more worried about situations like that. If it's somebody who's like a wide receiver 2 or like a tight end that's not super involved, then you can project them for whatever, because they're so subject to variance that their workload isn't high enough to be affected by an injury. So it depends on the player. It's more prescient in NBA than it is in NFL, though, for sure.
Dante Pettis, I got 8.59.
I had 10. So,
okay, so you're a little better. But see, those are the types of things I can't say, I'm like, okay, you got for a higher little
can't yell at me for that one.
Right, a higher target share or something. Well, what did you have Rashad Bateman at?
Let's see. It's pretty, I think I was low on Bateman.
I have him at just under 10.
Oh, yeah, I was way low on him. I have him at 4.
Oh, but that's wrong also.
Well, no, I mean,
what'd you give his target share to Duvernay?
No, I just have Baltimore as a super, super run heavy team. So a lot of like the projection is going to come from touchdowns, and it's going to come from, I don't know. I think that his target share, even though you could say that he had a high target share from that 1 game sample, I don't want to take that 1 game sample and say this is what he's going to be.
Well, it depends, James. A lot of people just said that, it's Rashad Bateman essentially is Sammy Watkins.
Right. No.
That's the thing I didn't agree with. But I didn't go so far as to think that his median would be 4. But I knew that his range of outcomes would be his floor would be much lower than people realize. Now, he had a good game. He had 3 for 80.
Yeah.
So he got 11 points, and he made value for 3,400. That if you played him, no problem. I mean, I didn't.
Yeah.
But I'm not. And I mean, in cash games, he was 50+%. But in GPPs, I X him out because it's like, I don't see how he burns. I don't see how he kills me. I don't. I think the floor is low. I think he's only going to make. That's his line. To me, that was his ceiling line. A touchdown, 3 + 8 for 80 and a touchdown would have been his ceiling. And it's like, am I going to need this?
And so my ceiling projection for him was actually 11.2, which is what he scored with that 3 for 80. And it's like, you could say that 3 for 80 turns into a touchdown and he gets that, but I thought the touchdown was way outside of his range of outcomes. And that's where the difference in this projection is. I didn't think that he had even like, I think I had him for less than 5% of the total touchdowns thrown for Baltimore or something like that. And that's really going to hurt his projection when I have Baltimore projected for less than 1 total passing touchdowns anyway. So that's probably where that comes from.
But I'm saying I'm not going to play a chalky, cheap guy that I believe his floor is actually much lower and his ceiling is lower than people think. People are playing
literally 0.
Right, but people are playing him to jam other guys in, not because I think the balance builds made more sense. Turns out yesterday, if you were to stack all 3 Patriots running backs, you would have won all the money.
So dumb.
Just if you would have stacked Damian Harris, Brandon Bolden, and JJ Taylor, who had 2 touchdowns. That's why I said, if anyone has that lineup and they win, they are a time lord. This, you're living in a simulation at that point. But the winning lineup in the Millie Maker, that's what it was. Not Damian Harris. The winning lineup in the Millie Maker is perfectly 100% reasonable. And
that's a good lineup.
I could have easily seen myself making had I had Damian Harris, which if I was playing large field, I probably would have.
Yeah.
Small field, I wasn't playing him. Matthews, it's a 3+1. Matthew Stafford plus Cooper Kupp plus Van Jefferson.
Yep.
Running it back with DeAndre Swift. And then you plug in Damian Harris, Terry McLaurin, Chris Godwin, Chris Godwin was the top 25% owned wide receiver. No one's questioning that. You play Foster Moreau, right? You got there at 2% ownership.
Yep.
18 points. You play the Bucs defense over the Cardinals, and the Bucs had 21 fantasy points at 2.8% ownership. And there you go. Terry McLaurin was low on, and DeAndre Swift was only 7% owned in the Millie. I thought he would be way higher.
Yeah, I had him projected for 17 or something.
Right. Same for me. So in this, and Damian Harris for 12, when I would have ended up playing more Damian Harris, thinking that he would be 5 to 8% owned. And then I would have been shocked that he's 12. But this zeroes out. What more can you ask for? This lineup looks like something that you could absolutely You could hand build.
I wonder if that was a late swap.
Well, where would the late swap would have been? What would have been in Foster Moreau's slot? Maybe Cole Kmet?
Well, no, I'm thinking like maybe it was Robert Woods and Darren Waller.
Or maybe it was the Cardinals here. Because
this
lineup after the 1 p.m. games would have had Harris and McLaurin. Yeah. And that looks good. If you have Harris and McLaurin, like basically the 4 guys that went off in the early games were Harris, McLaurin, Brown, and Chase.
Yep.
So if you had at least 2 of them, you would have shot.
Yep.
At taking down GPPs. If you had all 4 of them, like you're doing absurdly great. But most likely you don't have all 4 of them. But all you needed was 2, because then you get Cooper. You needed Cooper Kupp. You pretty much needed Chris Godwin or Evans, someone like that. You needed at least the Cardinals defense. You needed at least the Giants defense, something double-digit defense scorer. And all you needed, if you got 56 points out of running back on a slate where if you got 20 points out of both running back slots combined, you were actually above average.
Yeah.
Especially in the afternoon slate, like running backs were just going down. Sanders, Jacobs, Henderson was hurt for a little bit. I mean, damn.
I was so sad about Cordero Patterson for a little while because I really liked Cordero Patterson and he only scored 12. It's like, oh man, that sucks. And I had some.
That was better than anything else.
Davante Freeman only scored 12, and I was like, oh man, that sucks. And then it didn't matter.
Look at this discrepancy. It's the biggest discrepancy on the slate yesterday. In the Wildcat, Cordell Patterson on FanDuel. Let me go. In the Wildcat, he was 6.4%, 7% owned. 6% owned.
Yeah.
What do you think he was owned in the play action?
Probably like 22.
20.64.
Yeah.
17.8 in the Millie.
Yeah.
Cordell Patterson at 6,300. And I'm saying that he scored 14.1 points and beat most of the other running backs that you can flip anyway. I don't know what he was on FanDuel. In FanDuel, was 8,000. I would love to see it. Does anyone know what the FanDuel ownership was? Because that's going to be a laugh.
So, yeah, I mean.
I don't know what that. We don't have the CSVs for that.
Right.
But we could take a look through. This is what I like doing. I like looking at the Wildcat, the slant, the Millie, the play action, and just seeing the ownership differences from the higher stakes to the lower stakes. Typically, the Wildcat has sharper players. We could compare that. I sort by here. Like Miles Sanders, 24% owned in the Wildcat, 9% in the play action. He projected well, depending. I don't know what you did with Miles Sanders, because obviously you had the Eagles for 1 million points. Miles Sanders, in all the projections I saw around the industry, projected well, but I think his median was correct. I thought his range of outcomes was insanely wide. I think people were taking the past 2 weeks with limited Gainwell work and go, well, it could be that. Or it could not, or it could be that he only sees 10 touches. It could be his touch count could be anywhere from 7 to 22. And people are just like, okay, I'm just going to cut it through the middle and put 14. And then at 5,100 for Philadelphia's offense, that makes him, come in that 14, 15 point range from a median perspective. And then now he projects well. So I don't know what you did with Sanders, but I mean, Sanders showed up in some cash optimals for me, and I just X him out because it's I know his distribution is way. I can't go by this median because it's the same thing with Bateman. It's the same type of attitude with Bateman of we don't know much. So this guy could have zero floor, and I thought Sanders he could easily just go back to being a pumpkin and having 8 touches, and hopefully he's efficient on those 8 touches for 5,100. It's why do I have to deal with that when there are other options that I could play?
I had him for a median of 10 touches. So
you have him on the low side.
Around there. Yeah.
You gave all the touches to Quez Watkins. That's
right. Right. But projected for 13 fantasy points. I wasn't that far away on Sanders from the median for the industry. But yeah, situations like that, man, I don't know why people subject themselves to committee running backs in cash. I don't. I mean, even in GPPs, like I understand the appeal of doing it with somebody like Miles Sanders or with even Jonathan Taylor. Like I don't even really like Jonathan Taylor all that much most of the time because he has to be ultra efficient on the opportunities that he gets. Otherwise, like what is his actual like floor? What is Jonathan Taylor's floor if he only gets 10 touches in a game, which is not crazy.
He only got 14 touches in a game last week that he scored 1 billion points because
right. I know
80-yard run or whatever.
I
think it's not the committee, it's the running back by committee type of situations. It's when they're chalky. I don't mind taking a shot on that type of running back when they're 4% owned, 5% owned, not when they're 20% owned. I mean, then they're just like, I hope, like Swift also. Swift gets there in garbage time a lot also. Mm-hmm. Jamal Williams still gets like half the work. So like,
well, but it's fair to say like DeAndre Swift is getting like 8-9 targets a game. He's getting
because the Lions are down all the time.
Right, but it doesn't matter because like if you're still projecting that, he's a wide receiver with rushing upside.
That's true. I had him up there. I had him fifth from a salary adjusted value perspective. He was fifth. So,
yeah, I had him way up there as well. And like Miles Sanders, that's kind of the thing with Miles Sanders. Miles Sanders is not getting 7 to 9 targets a game. Those are the kind of situations I don't mind. That's why I didn't mind Cordell Patterson yesterday. It's like Patterson is still getting massive amounts of the receiving work for that team, or at least he was. So like putting him up there because of that receiving work, I don't mind doing that. It's when these running backs that are on a team where they're not getting 85% of the rushing work and they're not getting 10+% of the market share of targets. Like, I don't like taking shots on those guys. I think they have really their ranges of outcomes are exceptionally wide, like you said about Miles Sanders. And I think their floors are way worse than people want to admit. And their ceilings really are tied to being ultra efficient, which I don't like projecting out.
David D. Maria in YouTube chat says on FanDuel, Cordell Patterson in the Millie on FanDuel was 17.1%.
Oh my God, at 8K?
Right. But people played him over Darrell Henderson and did better than Darrell Henderson. Right. I mean, it's kind of like we're saying, oh my God, 17% of people played an 8K Cordell Patterson on FanDuel. But
and then I'm sitting here with
he scored as many points as more points than most running backs.
Right. It was such a weird day. And I went into building and I was building out and I really wanted, before I had that Philadelphia stack, it was I think that one was either a Chiefs or a Rams stack. Like it was an expensive stack.
And what's up with the Chiefs? I didn't bother playing. Okay. I didn't play Chiefs stacks at all, but I still had in my 17 lineups, some Darrell Williams.
Sure.
And some Tyreek Hill.
Sure.
I thought Mahomes stacks are more likely to have Kelsey than have Hill in it.
Absolutely.
And Hill obviously has a 50-point ceiling in and of itself. And also, I wanted to save my tight end spot for the Moreau swap if needed.
Sure.
So, I mean, obviously, the Chiefs just did nothing. I just saw from a price perspective that, like, playing Mahomes stacks on DraftKings at least, like, it just led you to the same. Like, it just led you to the same places.
They're too expensive. They're too expensive. I mean, unless it's a week where we have some legitimate good value, like,
but even then you'd still be duped. I mean, you're still creating similar lineup constructions, but like,
right. But I think that you can still you can justify having it in like smaller fields. Mm-hmm. I think you can justify doing it in smaller fields. I didn't even think of using I tried once when I was like writing up my article for the slate. I was like, oh, well, let's see what it takes to build a Kansas City lineup. And you got onto like Rashad Bateman and you got onto like these running backs that were ultra questionable. You're in the 5K range at running backs. You can't do anything with your lineup. And I mean, why would I do that? I had Tua projected for like 24 fantasy points. Why am I going to play Patrick Mahomes?
Right. I ran lineups on Sunday morning.
Yeah.
This is before inactives. And my top and just running just bare basic stats, bare basic lineup constructions. I had Stafford with a 152 total median.
Mhm.
I mean, with the whole lineup.
Yeah.
Stafford stacks with 152, Tua 149, Carr 148, Brady 147, Mahomes 143.
What? Yeah.
So the whole
You couldn't.
it's not that it wasn't like I don't like Mahomes, I didn't like Kelsey, I didn't like Hill. Just that based on their projections were higher from a raw points perspective, but not worth the salary enough that it hampered the rest of your lineup enough from a median perspective,
Right.
That you could have played it for ceiling, obviously. But I thought that people were going to be trying to play that game. I thought that game would be over-owned.
I did as well.
I thought it wouldn't be high owned. Some people were thinking that there was going to be insane ownership on that game. I thought it wouldn't be insane, but it still would be over-owned. I thought Stafford would be the higher owned, those stacks would be higher owned. So that's why I was playing a lot more of like Brady, Carr, Tua, like that type of. So I think I played 3 Stafford lineups. But if I had to cut any of those 4, I would have cut out Stafford.
Sure.
Just from an ownership perspective, even though he was the highest projected stack. But I mean, everyone knew he's the highest projected stack, and there aren't so many stacking partners with him. That's why being cute and doing, playing Kupp and Woods, playing Woods and Higbee, playing Kupp and Van Jefferson, like doing stuff like that, like made more sense with Stafford lineups than just play Stafford, Kupp, single. DeAndre Swift was the obvious kind of run back.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not getting different. And like, then I got to get different in the rest of my lineups. I was more inclined to like in my Car and my Tua lineups, like, dude, jam Godwin and Henderson in those lineups. And like, I don't have to worry about that.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. And when you're building these out, especially for the medians, like the Chiefs make sense on certain slates. They didn't make sense on this slate. Even if they projected well, of course, Mahomes, Tyreek Hill, and Travis Kelce are going to project for like a median of 70-something fantasy points by themselves. Sure, but you can't fill it out unless you have cheap running backs or really cheap wide receivers, or like they're going up against a team that has a really cheap starting option or something. It didn't make sense on this slate. I didn't think so. And
it didn't make sense with the numbers to me. If you could play those types of lineups, I mean, you got slightly lower ownership. It led you to Rashad Bateman. It led you to T. Higgins. It led you to, I'd go look at this ownership here. Go to the Wildcat ownership. Go up and down. Okay. It led you to, you probably played a cheap defense, or you played like Rashad Bateman, Mecole Hardman is 15% owned.
Which is silly.
Because that's what people are going to have to do to make cheap stacks. They're going to go Mahomes, Hardman, Kelsey. If we take a look at the Chiefs right here, let's go quarterback. Mahomes was in the Wildcat. Across the board, Mahomes was the highest owned quarterback.
That's weird.
Right? Stafford was a little higher on average, only because there's more owned in the slant and the play action. But Mahomes in the Wildcat was the most owned quarterback. You go to running back. Darrell Williams, 18, 14. Okay? He's up there. He's in the top 5 owned running backs. We go to tight ends. Kelsey wasn't the highest owned tight end. He was the 4th highest owned tight end. Gesicki, Goddard, Seals, Jones, and was above him because people had to pay down in order to get stuff.
Yep.
And then we look at wide receiver. Tyreek Hill, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Hardman was the 7th highest owned wide receiver, and Hill was the 8th highest owned wide receiver. So it's like, actually, it's weird to say the Chiefs were better plays in the large field contests. Because
I think the Chiefs' individual plays were better.
Right. But take a look at Hardman was owned similarly across the board, no matter what contest you were in, from a multi-entry GPP perspective. Hill, however, was 15% of the Wildcat, but only 8% in the play action.
Yeah.
Right. But that's what I thought. That's what I was projecting. But I think I did what a lot of people did. Like, I'm going to play Tyreek Hill as a one-off because people are playing Adams and Kupp. And I think a sharper player thinks that way. And then Hill ends up being 15% owned. right? So now even I had Hill in like two of my 17 lineups. Had I known that Tyreek Hill would be 15% owned, while Cooper Kupp would only be 22% owned, I would have just played Cooper Kupp and I just like Cooper Kupp should be 9,500 a year. Why? Like Cooper Kupp. I mean, when the Cooper Kupp projection came out originally on the Blitz, and I saw he was higher than Adams, my number one thought was printing money in 2019, playing $9,000 Michael Thomas instead of Christian McCaffrey. Like literally, like people are like, oh, you got to jam in McCaffrey into a running back slot. It's like, no, I'm going to save money by playing Michael Thomas when he's 2,000 underpriced.
Yeah.
Right. But he's 9,000. I know. And he's 2,000 underpriced. Like the dude's median is 28 points as a receiver. He's going to go 14 for 120 like every goddamn game. Right. Good luck. I can fill my running back slots with 5K and 6K guys.
Yeah.
But you're not going to find a receiver that's just going to give you 30 points just every week. No problem. And I think Cooper Kupp is more like that.
Well, I mean, that's what we had with Davante Adams last year. Davante Adams was like a walking 30 fantasy points.
Not necessarily, not as much as you think. But yes, you plug him in at when he's 7,800, you go, yeah, just don't even think about it.
Yeah, you just move on.
Right. And they were using him as a goal line, like what they're using Kupp with.
Yeah.
Now also. But the thing is, the Packers offense is different than the Rams offense. Just like the Saints offense. Like the Saints were a more pass-heavy offense.
Yeah.
The Rams are a more pass-heavy offense. And the Packers, if they're up by a touchdown, they're more likely to lean 65-35 run, 70-30 run.
Aaron Rodgers, he doesn't have that killer instinct anymore, man. Doesn't have it. He won the MVP last year, and then he went vegan this year.
But Tom Brady, on the other hand, Tom Brady just is out for blood. Tom Brady is just going to break the single season records this year.
Yeah,
they give no crap. I mean, like just like
I'm
just throwing for 405 every game.
You want to know why he's going to do it? Because he can.
Right.
Because whatever. Like
he's 44 years old. And you still look at him and go, he could win MVP this season.
I swear this offseason, he just like he was talking to Giselle, right? They're having their avocado and like grape leaf salad or whatever they have for dinner. And they're talking and he's like, Giselle, I'm bored. I think I'm just going to break every record that a quarterback has ever set next year. And then Giselle said, okay, that's sweet, honey. Here's $100 to go to the store and buy something, because Giselle makes all the money. But I don't know how this keeps going. I don't know where the ceiling is. Like, where does it end? Where does
look at it? I mean, look at who Brady. I mean, Brady's never had a more talented team. He's won all those Super Bowls, yet he's when everyone's healthy, he gets to drop back and choose between Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, Antonio Brown, or Rob Gronkowski.
Right.
Like, and Antonio Brown is the third option.
Right? Or the backup to Rob Gronkowski is an equally athletically freaky OJ Howard.
Yeah, but it's that. I mean, in comparison to historically,
right? But OJ Howard, if you put OJ Howard on the Patriots,
he would have been Rob Gronkowski, right?
So it's crazy.
Julian Edelman wouldn't even make the Bucs team. He'd be Tyler Johnson. He'd be Tyler Johnson.
Can you imagine if Chris Hogan even wanted to be on the Bucs? They'd laugh at him.
They even have better running backs, right? Lenny Fournette is probably better than like LeGarrette Blount ever was, right?
Right. My God, it's insane, man. He's yesterday he had what, 3? Did he have 3 touchdown passes in the first quarter, or was it 2?
First quarter? I think. No, Fournette had 1.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Brady had two.
Yeah, and then at halftime, we're sitting there in the Discord, and I'm like, man, well, I got to sweat, but I got to hope that they at least play the third, because Tom Brady could very well just go out there for one more series, throw another touchdown to Mike Evans, and then be like, all right, well, I'll just put in the backup.
Yeah, but I mean, he had to come back out. Fields had 3 interceptions and 2 fumbles. I mean, they were just constantly just giving it back up to the Buccaneers. Just here you go. Here's a short field again. There you go. Here you go. Blah, blah.
Eating.
Right?
Also, fire Matt Nagy.
Okay, so hit the thumbs up buttons on your way out the door. This is what we do on Mondays. We review yesterday's slate with James McCool. We talk about concepts from the theory of daily fantasy sports. Me and James McCool. 15-hour audio DFS masterclass. How to think like a professional DFS player. All these concepts, game theory-wise, it applies to any sport. So we got chapters like game objectives, player selection, expected value, leverage, correlation, construction, risk management, exploit psychology, a whole bunch of miscellaneous stuff. Right, you go check it out, pick it up at theoryofdfs.com. James, paydirt_DFS on Twitter.
Yes, paydirt_DFS on Twitter and paydirtdfs.com for all the projections for all the sports.
And I'll be on later tonight. I'll be on the showdown show for Monday Night Football. So hit that notification bell to know when we go live. That's at 7:30 Eastern, 7:40 Eastern. We got NBA Crunch Time, NBA Grinders live on the channel. We got obviously premium content and everything. If you sign up for RotoGrinders Premium, get $10 off your first month by clicking on the link in the description. And I'll see you tomorrow, answering your DFS strategy questions as usual every weekday on the DFS pregame show on RotoGrinders.com.